Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the fourth episode in our Celebrating Success series. This episode is on the topic of technology, something that's been somewhat pushed to the forefront over the last year, as the adoption of technology during the pandemic has been vital for keeping residents connected to their loved ones, as well as helping staff with the day-to-day running of their homes. We have two great speakers lined up for this topic with a wealth of experience, the first one being Issac Theophilos. Issac has a great track record within care, having previously managed a home that achieved outstanding in all 5 areas, and has since used his knowledge as a consultant, helping care homes to improve. Issac is passionate about the adoption of technology in care homes and will be speaking on his experiences surrounding this and the improvements he has seen in homes that have fully embraced the benefits of it. Next up, we'll be hearing from Dudley Sawyer from Care Vision. Dudley feels strongly about improving the lives of those within the social care sector and currently sits on a number of boards that affect change within the sector in London. Through his work with Care Vision, which provides care planning and management software, Dudley has a wealth of knowledge on the improvements that can be made in care through the implementation of technology. Dudley will be talking us through the benefits to staff and ultimately to your residents in adopting a fully integrated, cloud-based care management system and providing us with some insights on the results he's seen so far. We'll be having a brief Q&A session at the end of the webinar, so please do submit your questions as we go along. And in case this is your first time tuning in, this monthly webinar series is focused on sharing industry knowledge from a wide spectrum of experts, specialists, and care home owners. The aim is to provide you with some useful tips and action points that you can use to make a difference to staff and residents in your care homes. So far, we've covered a range of topics from CQC regulations to interior design, marketing, and putting residents at the core of your business. You can catch up on the first 3 episodes on our blog, and if there's any topics you'd like us to cover, then please do let us know. But with that, I'll now hand over to Issac. Thank you. Sorry, I think you're muted, Issac.
I'm mute.
Technology. I'm learning something new today. Fantastic. A very good morning to all. Thank you very much for having me here, Rantel and Dudley. It's a fantastic morning. I'm looking through the people who have joined today, very familiar names. I can see a lot of people that I recognize, which is good. Thank you very much for joining us. So I think we are on a challenge with Rantel today, saying that he said only few questions people ask normally during the webinars. And today we are going to make it different because you're not going to ask all the questions because I may not have all the answers, because I think we are also here to do a collective learning session, meaning you share your, the technology that you use in your care home so that, we can learn from each other. So that's the aim here, because I'm not the god of all answers. Let's all be, good teachers to each other. So fantastic. Technology in care homes, time to step out of 1990s thinking. So that's what I'm going to talk about. So before we actually start, I want you to do an exercise on, 3 modern technologies that you use in your care home, please. I think write down 3 modern technologies that you use in your care home. If you can put in the chat session or the question session, we can read it out just to get a, just to get a feel of, where we stand as a sector from your experience. If you don't mind, please. Go for it. Share all your secrets. Let's learn from it. The first one, Nicole Atherton says, online software for care plan, fantastic. Computer, iPad, PC, yes, machine. Care Vision. There you go, Dudley. Your customers here. Alexa, iPad, main computer to work. Thanks, Heidi. More. Let's have more. Artificial intelligence, quantum computers. No, I'm joking. Just let's focus on Alexa, iPad, etc. More Ablis, Vanquish, finger scanner. Thank you, Sean. Any more? Online employment files, which is good. Phone devices for inputting care notes by the care assistants. Alarms updated. Zoom Wi-Fi. There you go, Rantel. Look how engaging people are. So yeah, alarms updated, Zoom, Wi-Fi. Andrew Clayton, thank you very much, Andrew. We aren't a care home, but rather a provider of technology. Rahul Bajaj, keen to understand what areas are most important to this working in care homes, compliance, EMOR, care planning. Thank you for joining us, Rahul. It's much appreciated because we want to involve the suppliers as well in this conversation to develop products that's suitable to deliver amazing care. Anyone else? No. Thank you very much for sharing these things. It's fantastic. I think let's have an ongoing, engaging session here today. Heidi again, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, fantastic. Thank you, Heidi. So, what's my story? Sometimes it's better. Those of you that doesn't know me, my background is I used to be a carer. I'm also a nurse. Very proud to be a very proud nurse. That's the core of what I do and what I believe in. And I was a manager of a dementia nursing home, which has rated outstanding in all the areas a couple of years back. Then I wrote a book. Left my job, helped other care homes, done more than 100 care home mock inspections so far. I had a good news this morning. One of the care homes that I was supporting, they had an inspection yesterday, all went good. So possibly it will be from a request improvement to good, and the next one should be outstanding. And I'm also the owner of carehomeshopping.com, which is a e-commerce marketplace for the care home sector. So if you want to find out more about me or my work, just go to outstandingcarehomes.co.uk. You'll learn more about it. I believe everybody in care homes should receive amazing care, and we are all on a mission for that. So that's my story. So what are we going to learn today? I think for any presentations, especially I believe that anybody who attends any presentation, there has to have some value out of it. So today you will learn what is the difference between good and outstanding, because that puts the context of where the technology comes in, and then how you can use or leverage the use of technology to achieve an outstanding rating. So we'll go through that as well, and some useful technologies that you can use in your care home. And along the way, I'll share some tips and tricks as well on how you can support your residents. So it's very good to understand, how the regulations work, how the technology sits within the regulation. So we need to understand the core concept first before we actually shout to CQC saying, okay, we are using this technology, we are very modern, and that's why we are outstanding. So I think those claims doesn't work unless you have a good backup of what you're actually telling. So first one, I think if you look at, let's forget about care sector completely, and let's look at what's happening around us in the last decade. I think if you look at 1970s to 1990s, I think thank you very much, Martin. Martin says, interesting to hear that most of the technology addresses the time on pathway when the care begins. The technology is also important before that. Lead generation, inquiry. Martin is an expert in lead gen and other marketing activities for the care homes. All underpinned by good training and excellent cultures. Fantastic. Thank you very much for your contribution, Martin. And so we were talking about the technology that's happening outside the care sector during this time. I think if you look at from 1990s onwards, I think the internet was found, and once the internet was found, I think there was a rapid growth in technology use in different forms. And then you had the iPhones, then iPads. That just made life easier for a lot of people. And then if you look at WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, virtual home assistants, smart home devices to control the temperature, you switch on the light, switch off the light, you just speak to Alexa to do all those things. I think in terms of business, there are card payment system. You swipe your card, the payment is automatically taken. Someone can actually steal your card and they can buy beer. It's so easy now. So I think the technology is moving forward so quickly in the sector. I think self-driving car, digitalized diaper monitoring, I think that's something that we need to think about in the care sector. So if you heard of Lumi sensor technology by Pampers, you can understand that, if you Google it or YouTube it, you'll understand how they use a sensor to find out if the pad is wet or not, and then the child can the nappy can be changed and they can have a good sleep. So it's an amazing technology. I wish, probably the sector will have that facilities very soon. And in-home exercise equipment, fitness tracker wristbands, that's very modern. You get the heartbeats, you get the SpO2, the saturation monitor, you can find out how much calories you're burning. A lot of technologies it's outside. And quantum computers. So if you talk about, the Apple iMacs or other computers, quantum computers are like 10,000 times more powerful. I think the Google launched it in 2019. There's a big race going on between different countries and companies and creating the supercomputers. So I think Google released in 2019. So that's going to bring a lot of advancement in terms of drug therapies, creating solutions for different sectors, making the travel easier. Because I think currently, when I research about quantum computers, it's currently the solution is binary, either yes or no, and then the computer follows a path. But when it comes to quantum, it can actually sit in the middle as well. So when we have an uncertain situation, these supercomputers can actually decide what's the best possible scenario. I think that's going to be brilliant, and that's going to revolutionize the technology and make our life smoother in the long run. So these are the technologies that's happening outside our sector so far. I genuinely wish the face-to-face presentation come back very soon, because it's very hard to see when there's no engagement, we can't really see the participants. So please feel free to put in things in the chat or questions, so that it tells me that, okay, there are some people listening or maybe sleeping at the other end. So let's move. So where are we as care homes? I think I visited so many care homes. I have detailed audited probably 106 care homes so far now. I have trained so many care home staff. I speak to managers very often. So based on my assumption, this is not a very official statistics. I wish there was statistics behind the technology used in care homes. So I would say, I think 2 out of 10 care homes that I have visited have an Alexa or a Google Home, and for the purpose of being used by the resident or the staff. And 6 out of 10 care homes I have visited have a digital care planning system. It's moving forward, which is good. I think very few number of care homes doesn't still have a website. I think going forward, your digital presentation is going to be really important. 3 out of 10 care homes use personal email for work purpose. I think with the new data protection laws and everything, you shouldn't be using the personal emails for your work purposes, which has confidential information about your residents, etc. I think that's very behind, long time behind. You should have a work email. And most common technology, if you ask any care homes, most of them will say sensor madness call system, which has been there for a long time. And very few care homes have Facebook page. Very few care homes use sensor lights. I think probably EMOS system, very, very less. I think the market still needs to adopt the EMOS system. And the interesting bits is number of residents use mobile phone is very, very low. So I think one of the reasons why people say, okay, they can't use mobile phone because they don't know how to use it. But I think if you look at pre-pandemic, I think number of care homes use Skype for meeting with families was very, very limited. I think with the crisis came in and there was no alternative, people started searching solutions, and then the staff started to use WhatsApp, Facebook, Facebook Messenger and Zoom, etc., to communicate with the families abroad. So I think in terms of residents using mobile phone, I think that's something that we have to help them in order to make use of it and make their life easier as well. So I think if you look at iPhone, there is a specific feature in the settings which says accessibility. So if you look into in detail, you can see, you can have bigger letters, have separate buttons. There are loads of features in iPhone which we haven't used. Or if you want to use dedicated dementia-friendly type of mobile phone. It's widely available. All you have to do is just Google it. So I think it's having that curiosity to find solution for making the life of the people easier and better in our care homes. I think that's something that we have to do on behalf of them. And 1 out of 10 care home residents do have a wireless headphones, which is again, which could be improved. I think for some care homes, the saddest part was the free iPad was the first iPad in that particular care home. So I think that's where that's the setting where we are at the moment as a sector. But on the other side, there are other innovating care homes, and they do use technology well in advance, which is very appreciable. And there are other end of the spectrum as well. So here, Andrew says most care homes don't have a dedicated training room, let
I think we just lost Isaac temporarily there. We'll just wait a short while to see if he comes back on.
The power of technology.
Yeah, indeed.
Maybe it's a few questions we could probably prepare for him. Oh, he's gone. He should be back, hopefully.
Do you want to?
Sure. Yeah, hopefully he'll be back with us shortly, Dudley. I guess whilst we're waiting, a couple of questions which we'll be having a brief Q&A session at the end of this as well. So to all the audience, please do keep submitting your questions. The one thing for yourself, Dudley, what do you think, by way of a prediction, is going to be kind of the next big development for technology in care homes? Is there anything in particular that comes to your mind?
I mean, this is a really great question, because I think this pandemic has really opened up the sort of technology and digital sort of the digitization of sort of social care, and I think we have to really turn it on its head in the fact that we're now, I mean, I'm not going to say it's the dark ages. As a sector, you know, we've just really come away from using paper, and people are really incorporating technology. I think there are lots of great investments that are taking place within the sector. I think it's really the communication and sharing information, which is key for me. And I think how that's going to work, I think there's lots of great things, products, lots of devices, and that's really the information that's the most important that we must sort of always remember. Yeah. And for me, which I probably was going to touch on during my sort of whilst I'm speaking, it's more to do with the education and training of those in our sector to be able to use it and maximize it. And yeah. I think it's really a key facet. And I know Isaac touched on that. Maybe many of the service users or the people we care for may not use these devices, but it's about maybe having clubs or helping them access that information. And the pandemic really has shown that engagement can happen between families and people outside around the sector. So it's having a real 360 sort of like digital vein running through your organization. I think that's the real key that we want. So yeah. That we're not just having this conversation. What used to be, for example, 10 people in a room. Now the room has opened up a lot more. We want that to be just part and parcel of the sector, which we know social care sector really should be able to do. And that will bring in sort of a lot of the bigger players in, which is really key.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's brilliant. And I look forward to going to some of these questions a bit more at the end, but it looks like we've got Isaac back, I believe. You there, Isaac?
I am so sorry. My biggest apologies. My Wi-Fi got disconnected and I'm connected to my phone now. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you very well. Thank you.
Okay. God bless technology. So there's an alternative. Fantastic. Sorry. So I think this is where we are as care home sector, based on my assumption. So you can relate to your own experience based on what I have written on this slide. Uh, so when it comes to outstanding, so people often ask me the question, can a care home be outstanding? Outstanding means in terms of CQC outstanding, be outstanding if they use care planning software. Can a care home be outstanding if they use EMA system? Can they be outstanding if they use circadian lights? So what do you think? If they use remote monitoring device, can they be outstanding? What does the participant think of this question? What is the correct answer for all these questions? Can they be really outstanding for just using the technology? Yes, they can. Nicole says yes, they can. What are your assumptions? So just by using this technology, do you think that CQC should award you an outstanding rating? Yes, they can. Yes, but the key is the staff. Fantastic. Thank you for the contribution. Let's keep that coming. So my answer would be yep, not just for using the systems alone, but they contribute to an overall. Yep. Yeah, Rahul says, I don't think that's the case if you're merely using it. I feel it's more to do with how well the team adopt and utilize the technology. Absolutely. So it's not about what do you use, it's more about what outcomes you have achieved because of using the technology. So we will get to that in detail. So let's understand how CQC rate your care home. So first of all, if you operate a care home in England, you have to follow Care Quality Commission regulation, CQC regulation. There's no alternative for that. Even if Queen start a care home in England, they still have to follow the regulations. So I think you might have learned about the fundamental standards, Regulation 9, person-centered care, Regulation 10, dignity and respect, Regulation 11, need for consent, 12, safe care and treatment, 13, abuse, 14, nutrition, 15, what is 15? Regulation 15, don't Google it, just type in the answer. What is Regulation 15? No? Yeah, I think I'm sure. I mean, as registered managers and providers, you might have learned all these regulations when you actually went for your CQC inspection. But it is very important that you understand the fundamental standards, which includes nutrition, 16 complaints and concerns, 17 governance, 18 staffing, 19. 19. Did I lose 19? I think fit and proper person, yes, and 20 is display of your ratings and then duty of candor. Finally, inspector regulation, and we talk care and they talk low. So we need to match the expectation, which means if we start to talk their language, the conversation become easier and smoother. So you need to understand the regulations and you need to know how you present your evidence to them. So Martin says, strategically, I think it's important that tech covers 3 C's: clients, colleagues, uh, and those around them, and communities. Connect these groups and show outcomes in terms of quality of life. And this will be a critical success factor. Exactly. I think it's more about outcome when it comes to outstanding. So I think, first of all, CQC checks if you meet the regulations. Then they will say, okay, you meet good. So we could look at outstanding evidence. So if you don't meet basic fundamental regulations, which means you're not giving enough fluids, or you're not treating people with dignity and respect, or you're not submitting CQC notifications, that's a straightforward breach of regulation, which it's an easy breach of regulation, which can put you to a request improvement or inadequate rating depending on the severity. So that's very important. So if you use technology and you have an amazing stories, But if you're not meeting the basic regulations, then they are not interested to look at your outstanding stories. So I think, yeah, things like, these are the big trip hazard for your care home business. Not having consent form, call bell not being answered on time. CQC inspectors will come and sit and watch, how long it will take for the call bells needs to be answered. So if it's going for 30 minutes, on few occasions during the visit, they will go and check your historical call records. They will go and ask your residents, do you get staff to respond to your call bell system, etc. So if they say no, then there is a typical concern, and they will ask you for your the staffing rota and the requirements, etc. So I think these are the fundamental needs. And errors in medication, lack of meaningful activity, audit not picking up the things that CQC inspectors have picked. That means there's a lack of knowledge in auditing, and the auditing by the management within the care home. So there are a lot of things that it's easy to trip on regulations. Even if you're doing amazing stuff, that doesn't add any value to CQC inspectors unless you're meeting all the fundamental standards, because that's very, very important. So once in a year, take a day break, sit together as a team, and see where you are at least meeting good in all the domains, which is very important. So what is outstanding then? So outstanding means, there are CQC definition for it. But in terms of my definition, it's over and beyond meeting the compliance. So it shouldn't be just taking somebody out for a walk, or it shouldn't be just buying ice creams or fish and chips from outside. It's not about that. It's more about meeting over and beyond the compliance. And it has to have some kind of measurable outcome. It's not just for showcasing, or it's not just for taking the photograph. It's about, what outcomes it has, what difference it has made to the person you're caring for, or what difference it has made for the community that you're serving, or the staff you're looking after. So staff who is working for you. And also at the end, does it meet the outstanding criteria? It's not about just having these stories. It's also about, which Chloe does it fit to. So if you have one story, and if you try to fit in all the domains, CQC inspectors will say, okay, that doesn't add up there. So it is just valid outstanding. So you really need to know where you actually put your outstanding evidence, in which domain. And when you give that evidence to them, it's easy to gain that outstanding. So start having a mindset of going over and beyond for your residents and staff, and you will never be short of evidencing for CQC. So people will say it's more about paperwork when you achieve an outstanding rating. It is not. You can have paperwork only if you have done something amazing. So that's very important. So I think this is what we need to talk about. So we talked about technology, how the world is evolving over the period of time. We saw how care homes are responding to, what state the care homes are in terms of adopting technology. I think now I want to tell you about, there are plenty of solutions. If you Google any problems that you face in care homes, somebody might have found a solution somewhere in the world. All you have to do is Google it. That's all you need to do. You will find a solution, you trial it, and you implement it in your care home. So in terms of resident safety, I think we need to look at a few aspects. So how can technology help your care home? One, improving the safety of your residents, then improving the well-being of the residents, then improving the process efficiency, and improving the staff well-being. There are other aspects as well, which, there's a presentation that's made very quickly. So I didn't get much creative time to look into this in detail. So in terms of residents' well-being, these are the examples that you can use: iPads, headphones, mobile phones, fitness trackers, sensory lights, smart home devices, foot massager, seating, heated cushions. There's plenty of examples there you can use. It's all about, you have resident, let's say John, what is best for him, and support him to use that, so that his life will change. And that's your story for outstanding. So that's how you should use technology in order to help your residents. So in terms of process efficiency, I think care plan is the biggest thing, because you really want to know what is happening in your care home when you're actually having a holiday. Or no, don't check your care plans on holiday. That's a bad example. Probably, let's say during the weekend there was an emergency and somebody had a fall. You want to check the records. You can look into it remotely. So it just make life easier. Otherwise, you'll have to travel to the care home to look at the paper care plan. And by using a care planning software, you can also actually collect data. You can identify the trends and pattern. You can find out, who is falling at what time or whose shift in what part of the building. So that will give you an idea on, what solutions you can bring to the table. Payroll, auditing, project management software, activities at Reminiscence, visitor booking. I think there's a dedicated one for that now, Meet My Brian. Appointment scheduling, there's plenty there. Shared calendars, clashing calendars between different people. There's loads. I think still care homes use checkbooks, and of all of that, if we actually automate the collection, payment, etc., and sales funnel, social media, managing apps, etc. In terms of staff, well-being apps, medication app. I didn't mean medication app. I meant meditation apps such as Headspace, exercise trackers, team goal achievement, Audible, WhatsApp, Slack, intercom systems. So if you go to any drive-through facilities, let's say McDonald's or Costa Coffee, you can see the staff wearing these headphones and communicating each other. So one of the example is HME. Other day I went to coffee one of the Costas, and I asked the lady the question, which company provides this headset for you? And this was an awkward question, and she didn't want to share it with me because it's a company property, but it was very visible. The company's name was HME, which is on the headphones written here. So it just made life easy. Think about you're working in a big building, and it's a Victorian building. You don't know where the staff A, B, and C is. All you have to do is just wear these headphones and communicate each other. And then if somebody needs help, you can call for help, etc. I think these are not things that's not trial in care homes yet. I think we need to have a open-mindedness towards embracing this kind of technology, trialing it, learn through mistakes, and let's do this. And games, make it fun, make it really fun. I think working for you should be a fun for the staff as well, because they need to enjoy while working. So I'm not saying about you need to create a social club within your work. There has to be some professional boundaries, but make it fun and enjoyable experience working with you. I think there's loads of technologies that you can use in order to make that happen. So where are we failing? Any questions so far, or are we finding it interesting? Do you have anything to contribute? No comments, no questions?
Very good. We'll come out to a Q&A session at the end. That's been a few things coming through. So
okay, fine. Really helpful. Thank you, Karen. So where are we failing? I think we are missing visionary leadership in each care home. So thinking outside the box, because we are so flattened out by firefighting, especially during pandemic. I understand that, but I think we need to get over that. We need to create time for people to think creatively, probably one day a month. Think about, when I used to be a manager, I finished all my audits and everything in 15 days time in a month. Rest of the 15 days was really focusing on how can we different, what can we do to make an outstanding evidence. It's not for the purpose of making an outstanding, it's also for more about, what can we do extra to make it really great. So I think that really helped, that strategic way of thinking. And lack of awareness or no curiosity to explore potential solutions. I think that's another problem which I come across. And reluctance to change and attitude. I think that, again, funneled through the leadership as well. And misunderstanding about the costing. Some of the care homes, there is no direct benefit of, if you say, okay, why do you have to have care planning software? What it costs you probably 200, 300 quid per month. What value it adds. How does it improve your fee? How do you justify that cost? So I think you justify that cost in a different way. Like you can monitor the record. You can monitor analyze the faults or any incidents or any pressure source. These things, if it's not monitored, it's going to cost you very heavy in years to come. So let's say there is a safeguarding incident which resulted in a problem. The provider can be fined like 150,000 quid directly by Care Quality Commission. So there are consequences for not monitoring these things. So it's very important. Then an attitude of firefighting is a norm. I think we have a trend that in care homes, when people sit down doing nothing, always the owners or the managers think, okay, they have time to sit and do nothing. They should be doing something or spend time with the residents. But I think we need to get over that thinking and think about, let them have some spare time. And during that spare time, we actually think about how can we be creative and do something different. So it's not about just utilizing their time properly to do the task all the time. It's more about giving them creative time in order to think about potential solutions you can bring to the table. And I think people fear regulations, but that's not the case for me. But if you understand the Chloe characteristic, you can really understand that regulations will actually allowing you to take positive risk, especially under the safe domain. So you really need to know how to pitch your case to the Care Quality Commission and do it properly as well. And lack of training in technology, that's very important. I think training. So everybody focuses on mandatory trainings. I think with just mandatory trainings, as per Skills for Care, it's every 3 years. No, I think that's just basic requirements. That's not enough for your care home to be amazing, outstanding, or excellent. You really need to invest in, you need to have process, you need to have systems, you need to say technology-wise, this is how it should be used, proper technology. I think if a care planning software is installed and the staff didn't know how to input the data correctly, then that's going to kill your CQC rating in time to come. So these are all very important. Provide proper training in every aspect for your business. So what is the power of leadership? I think your care home will reach only to the level of your leadership, your thinking, your boundaries. So it's really important you as a leader, you take initiative to be excellent, amazing, and be very knowledgeable what's happening outside the sectors. Read books, listen to podcasts. Don't overkill yourself. Take time for yourself as well, because that improves your leadership skills as well. I think either you have to become a visionary leader who can create care home for the next decade. It's not about just today. It's more about, where your care home you want to be in 5 years time, 10 years time. Because if you look at any blue chip companies, they are all working on a 10-year strategy. They're all working on, if you ask the Apple company, I was listening to one of the Steve Jobs talk. I think he was saying that the Apple company is actually developing the product for next 5 years time or 10 years time. So it's actually in current development at the moment. So that's how they think this thing. I think that's something that we need to learn as a sector. And leverage experts who can support you. You don't have to read all these things, gain knowledge, etc. There are amazing people out there who knows about all these things, who might be having specialist skills. Just give them a call or get them on a consultancy basis. You can't have all the knowledge. Oh, it may be one of your staff who can go and research about things and they bring a solution to the table. So use the people wisely in order to move your care home forward, and select people who are clever, intelligent than you in order to move your business forward. Not moving forward is not an option. Adopt the technology, move forward. I think the youngsters who are coming on board as new employees are well versed in technology. So if you don't adopt technology to their standards, then you're going to miss out that type of people coming to work for you. So either you move forward or you stay stagnant and fail. So not moving forward is not an option. This is about me. This is the book that I have written. It's available in Amazon. It's been launched 3 years back. Have a look. If you haven't read it, please read it. It might be useful for you. If it's not useful, I will refund the full money. What do I do for a living? I do all these kind of things: mock inspection, care home business mentoring. You tell me the problem, I'll find a solution for you. I don't have all the solutions, but I will research and find a solution for you. Again, this is my contact details. So basically, be very visionary leaders, embrace technology, move forward, create outstanding care homes. Thank you very much for having me.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Isaac. Very full presentation. Appreciate that. And great engagement as well from the audience. So please do keep comments and questions coming through. I think it's important as well what you mentioned during your presentation about it's important to get the basics right as well. And then some of these things that we've been talking about is really what will kind of propel the home towards outstanding, but it's important to get that foundation right first. No, that's very good. So, like I said, we will come. There have been various questions come in. We'll come back to them at the end, if that's okay. But for now, I'll hand over to Dudley to first on his experience at CareVision as a care management software provider. Over to you, Dudley.
Well, thank you very much for having me, everyone. Thank you, Fern Care, and thank you to my colleague Isaac as well. It's a really interesting, outstanding information you've been giving us, Isaac. I was called and we spoke to Fern Care about presenting today. And the question was on the power of technology, which was quite interesting as we are a technology-based company. And so really how to really share that thought with you and what we're doing. So, I mean, just like Isaac, really, how did this start and what is CareVision? Well, CareVision are a cloud-based care management software and planning software system, which is used and has been used without the care sector, specifically for care homes. It also works as well with supported living. So many years ago, how CareVision really started, it came about from our owner, Rishi Jawa, and the likes of myself and others, who really sat down, really haven't been in the industry for a long time. We were care home owners. We realized the issue about different challenges we had, information sharing, problems with staff, management. How do we get this information together? It really was a bugbear. And we were quite open to technology, but we found that we would have to buy this package here, that package over there, and constantly different bolt-ons. So therefore, when we were trying to get information, we end up replicating various pieces of information, which really was a pain in the backside for us. So we had a colleague who was a developer, a great developer. And then we sat down one day and we decided really of how would this come about. It really stemmed from looking from a developer's point of view, which was really fantastic. The developer came in with nothing about social care and really sat down and really gave his take on what was practical. And we gave him our bugbears. We've looked out, and really the key was to really join everything and hold it under one roof. And we found sitting down, not just with the management, the staff, and really engaging with the families, really created something which incorporated all the things that happen in a care home on a day-to-day basis. So we looked and we just, as you can see here, of what we do, we covered various things from care management, EMAR, a visitor's book, the rota, accounts, family app, which has really been really fantastic over the last year or 18 months, housekeeping, which is something which is forgotten about, and chefs and meal planning. All of these things incorporated into a system which we felt really are really at the heart of what everyone does. Also as well, we also knew that for the staff who were involved, how we were engaged with the staff being a key component of what we do really is important. The most precious resource in the health and care system is its staff. Without the staff, you're lost. So we decided to make a system which meant that when staff were writing down information, it wasn't replicated, but they also were knowledgeable of what was going on. So what we did was, really we felt that technology needed to work for them and also for the individual receiving care. Technology really is enabled by infrastructure and the skills and expertise of the users, which obviously require investment if it's the benefit of these tools to be realized. And we found that this was really key, a part of our project of what we were doing. So we started out and we developed a system called CareVision. The great thing that we had, and which makes us unique to the sector, is that we are owners, care owners first, developers second, but we're joint together. So we were able to develop an issue or concern of whatever software we had and what problem we had and marry it together. This put us in a really great position of really incorporating technology into our infrastructure. And this is where we found just really, and what we did was our strapline was less admin, more caring. And this is the most important thing that we found was important. We also realized as well, there are multifaceted of devices. And we realized if you work in a care home, you've got your staff on the maybe on the ground level, you've got your management and your owner, and you've also got to incorporate all this information from the people we care for and try and share this information throughout the whole sort of infrastructure of your organization. So we realized that if you're a staff member, we thought we can't have staff members as usual running around, keeping their notes up to date, and also as well jumping on the computer, one PC. If there's several staff, how can everyone jumping on the PC together? We realized that smartphones really were the way forward. And I'm not sure if you know, but they say 4 out of every 5 households are using smartphones within the country. So this was an easy way forward in how to incorporate care vision into the hands of our sort of everyday staff. What we found was that staff could then use a system which meant that it's icon based, where staff are able to press on an icon and really add in various things that are there. But various other challenges have come in as well. We realized that all our service users were also available so that all your staff in a care home can see access to all the service users. We've got alerts of each service user or people you care for, if they've got issues, and also whether they've got the right to be resuscitated, whether they may have an issue with maybe diabetes and other sort of factors that are there. This was a starting point, which really was important, because if you have an agency staff that comes in, you'll want them to sit down and read a care plan and have access to the notes. But the reality of if they get thrown in and their things are really hectic, how can they go into maybe the office, sit down and digest a whole care plan? With the system we have, the care plan is on the device. So from the starting point, when a staff member comes into work, the most important thing is that they log in with their own unique ID, which means it's tailored to them. They each have a handset of their own calling. And from there, they will be handed and given the handover. That's the first measure that comes up as soon as they sign in, is the handover. Because we know when you come into work as a staff member, if someone runs off, maybe you're not aware of what's happened. Maybe the person didn't receive their medication, or maybe the person maybe have provided and may not have slept that night. So if you know that the person you're caring for is probably a bit grumpy, then you'd know because of the handover. So the handover is the first thing that you actually receive and read. From there, then you can go into then taking care of your tasks. As we see, it's very small here, but we've got interactions as the first button, which is probably 90% of what you'll be doing whilst you're as a staff member. And once you get into the actual interaction, then you can press on icons, which really does look at, rather than writing down various things. A lot of people may not be able to spell, or first language may not be English, can really go into the icons, and being icon based, it really makes it really simple and straightforward to make things move forward in regards to having and putting the information in. And it's once you press the actual icon, it then writes it into the system and provides a various array of notes. This happens for all members of staff, and it's used with all the people that you care for. We found this was one of the great things that we found, being phone-based. It happens where things happen in real time. And part and parcel of all this infrastructure of technology and digitization of the system is really key now, that it's something that's really before the actual pandemic happened, people were looking at sort of digitalization of the system. But what we found was that the digital tools have fast become the norm for care provision during the pandemic. And for those who had a system in place of how it could be used. We also know that with our regulator CQC, they also touched on digitalization of the system. And from what their quote said, we know that the digital systems can mean good outcomes for people who use services, for providers, and for the broader health and care systems. So we now know not only is it for those on the ground level, but the regulator has really embraced that. And really the key thing, what they've looked at and what we've looked at Care Vision is really looking at really 7 areas. It's really providing real-time information and recording about care and support to people needing the care they receive. We're also looking to help providers and carers to be more aware when people's needs change and respond to them more quickly. We're also offering the ability to use and compare data to improve people's care, helping information to be shared quickly, accurately, and safely to support the provision of health and sort of the care services. We're also thinking about how to minimize risks such as medication errors, dehydration, or missed visits, making it easier for people to use services to access their own records and to help manage and support staff do their job efficiently and effectively, and really easier to store the information. And finally, just requiring less physical space. We all know so much information and data is really important. So just in its own sense, this is cloud-based. So all the information is put up into the cloud, and using the resources across the health and care system is really key. It's really what we found was like having another admin or manager on a day-to-day basis. Really updating in real time is a key factor within sort of social care. We know that needs change rapidly, and those who work in spaces like dementia and supported living and other areas, it really is paramount. This information is fed if someone goes to hospital tomorrow. You need the update really immediately. What you had in the past was you'd have all your managers sitting down writing care plans at the end of the month. When information has changed from the beginning of the month towards the end of the month, this is information in real time, and really is one of the great things that we really enjoy with Care Vision. But we also found that you're talking about the actual staff. The key factor is as well the manager. Now the manager's role, which really in the start was on the ground, going around, the manager now, the reality of the manager is being sat in a room, really getting as much information as possible. So we also built not just for the staff, but for the manager. This is the interface that you can see here, and this is a computer. We have all the information of anything that happens during the month, and this could be anything from maybe falls, it could be any issues that you have. The highlights are down at the bottom here. You'd have here all the things that you'd have in there. It could be care planning, medication, safeguarding, anything to do which would run throughout there. You'd be able to go into each section here, and the information can be shared and delivered. You have updates, and over here we also thought about staff. And the one thing which we did when we really thought about the whole thought of technology was we weren't trying to make it something which was different. So we know smartphones are being used, and we know that staff really like to share information and really engage with us. And the beauty of Care Vision, having that personalized approach that we thought was important, because we believe that technology can improve access to information to enable better decisions about what will work for an individual and enable individuals to have more control and knowledge about their health. Really, that person-centered approach is what we've looked at. Being a developer and the actual care owners as well, when we went out to our clients, they asked for things such as icons, such as smoking rooms. We were able to develop it in real time, tailored to what their needs are within their sector. All these things are really important and key as part of the ongoing technology. And we know now the eco-structure that we have of social care is now we're looking at things such as NHS Mail, which is important. We're looking at telemedicine. We're also looking at things like Red Bag. All this information is fed in and we've incorporated into our system, so that therefore when it's shared now with outside organizations and industries, we're able to share that. One thing that I will say is really important, and we fear where our value lies, and we talk about technology for us all. We had a care provider, and I'm sure everyone who is aware with the whole inspections, they changed to maybe a virtual inspection, or we had the conversation, the ESF sort of with CQC. With a virtual inspection, one of the actual providers that we spoke to told us they had to scan over 500 different documents to CQC. And we found, you know, I mean, if you speak about how many documents and if you talk about how many pages incorporated that, that is a huge amount. So we're looking at a system which incorporates all the things at the touch of a button, and you have access to it immediately. We've got an infrastructure which gives you highlights. You can share information, tabulate it. It all works together. The key thing is this, is having things under one place, under one roof. And the interesting fact is that when we did start Care Vision, we thought of things like maybe with technology will really be for the younger people. But what we found is with the training, and it's helped more with the retention for the people already in the care sector and the people who may be a lot older. When it comes to training, and I think someone mentioned in the chat function or the questions was that training is key. We think that training is the most important thing when it comes to us sort of using our system. And one lady who started off, and you can see here the highlights of how many sort of care plans or notes they take. A woman who was in her 50s turned around and said, I can't use this system, this is impossible. She's now one of the most important people, or the most people who's given the most notes, daily notes in the system. She's sworn, and you know, we have a leaderboard within sort of workplace of how many types of notes you've written in a day. It just, anything there is a note, it leads into that. I think one of these factors is really important. And as you can see, the interaction from the manager who gets the board here, and from your staff member, when they log in their own name. That means they own the data. It means there's no issue or questions of the GDPR because it's you who's actually putting it in there. You also looked upon finally about when someone does come into this, usually, and then sorry, sometimes technology can be a pain in the backside. We have an offline system, which means that the service can work offline for a certain period of time. So when you do go offline, the system is still working for you. And then when you get back onto the Wi-Fi, then the system kicks in again. So we really thought of these sort of small things that happen on a day-to-day basis. All of this is a massive sort of development. But the key thing as well is that we work with the providers or the people we supply our services to. So we ask them what works for them. And as care providers as well, what happens on the ground, we incorporate it into our systems. It's always ongoing and forever developing. And that's one of the beauties of Care Vision, not just all in one, not just for the staff, not just for the manager, but really, it's really important to have everything there for that, and talking to various systems, not just for the young, not just for the old, but really a really incorporating system that really works for everyone. I know that time is running short and people have to go, but I would say it's important really, if you really want to find out more, you can see the information there, and by calling us, the information is there about sort of our system. What we found now, as we started many years ago, we're one of the leading care management software providers, and it really is still growing. But we have that bespoke and personalized service where we are knowledgeable. I speak constantly about what's going on in the sector. I'm knowledgeable about it, and we share this information. It's almost as well as having a consultation with your service and improving your service to become, as Isaac has mentioned, not just outstanding, but good, and getting you to a certain standard. So really, this is really one of the key factors that we found with Care Vision. And feel free to ask any questions, please.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that, Dudley. And two excellent presentations there with an awful lot of information. But it's certainly been very practical and full of takeaways for the audience. One of the questions that's come in from Richard is there a reluctance to use tech due to users being scared of the tech rather than the cost? What is being done to combat this? I think that's what you touched on, Dudley, with the example of the lady that said she couldn't use the system and is now one of the kind of the champions of it, if you like. Is there any more to say around that?
I mean, I think it's an ongoing development area. I think if we put the really hard hat on, unfortunately, we now know that technology is here to sort of stay, and digitalization is here to stay, and sharing of information is really key. I think, yes, I think there is, for me personally, a drive to have most people within the sector really to be educated within some form of basic technology. And if they are scared to provide that as a provider, I think it's really essential, because we don't want, I think paper is still really does happen and people still use paper, but I think it's, if for any provider out there, if you do feel there are any staff that's lacking in any form of having any fear of technology or any fear of digitalization, is really probably looking at really just helping them or putting them on a course or something as simple as that.
Brilliant. And a question along similar lines, I'll direct in your direction, Isaac, is what is the biggest blocker when it comes to technological change? Is it cultural change, or is it cost, or a combination, or something else altogether?
I think it's the barrier for adopting the technology. Cost is not the biggest issue. No.
Sure. Sorry. So what is the biggest issue for you? The biggest blocker? Sorry.
It's the cultural change, the attitude to adopt it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's interesting.
People are reluctant to make changes.
Brilliant.
And lack of training as well. Sorry, lack of training as well. Proper training.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's something that we were mentioning before we went live today, that it's you can have all the systems in place, but it's so important that training to actually use them effectively. Otherwise, they can go to waste, can't they?
I mean, one thing we'll touch on very quickly is what we have is called onboarding. And onboarding is really key when it comes to systems like this. And even for those people coming and moving from one system to another system, really onboarding is important, because it's really hand-holding people as they walk through a system, giving people trials so they can use the system, and so they can actually trial it maybe on one handset beforehand and really look at what things can do, having demos, which is also key, or sending them videos of how they can use the system.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. We have unfortunately overrun on time a bit, but I did just want to a question for both of you to kind of hopefully summarize this a bit, and as an immediate action point. We've had a lot of information, but what is the number one thing that you both feel our audience should do following this session? The first thing.
Well, I'll go first then, very quickly. I think now technology is now becoming like a vein which runs through your organization. And I think we have to learn how to embrace it. And we've touched on various things on, it doesn't make a difference what tool you use, but we also feel that using one tool which covers many things, such as what Care Vision has done, means that rather than bolting on many different tools, having everything in one place is key. And that means it's easy to educate the staff and to help them embrace it and really making it more exciting. What we found as well, very quickly before we leave, is that our system also, you can speak into our system. It also translates various different languages of people whose first language is English. You know, we've touched on various things and really tried to accommodate. But I think just like any technology, it's always ongoing and really reactive and proactive to the system and change that's happening. We have LFT testing on our system as well, for those people as well, PCR testing. So really incorporating all the modern changes within the sector into a system is key. So it's topical as well. So you're not just a system which is just off the shelf. We're really able to really develop with the user as well.
Brilliant. And for yourself, Isaac, what would be the priority for a care home manager or owner after today?
I think we have been through a tough year last year, and we're sort of like coming out of that now. I think what we really need to do is it's time for some reflection, probably a plan for next 5 to 10 years, and then work towards that goal. Have a strategic plan. You know, technology is amazing. That helps you to move forward. But there are other aspects in the care home business or care home sector which is rapidly changing as well and evolving. So how you move forward is the question, and where you're going towards is also something that you need to answer. So, and in order to get there, does your staff have the capability to reach that end goal? So it's more about reflection and having a bigger vision for your care home, and then fitting all these parts, technology, regulations, marketing, everything, putting together as a proper business case. I think it's a time for reflection. Yes.
Brilliant. Yeah, I think that came into one of the comments actually, or questions earlier, about setting the plan first rather than just going straight into something, to know where you are going and then working through that systematically. No, that's good.
Sorry, can I just say it's one of the factors as well that's going to help with the recruitment and retention of those in our sector as well. Technology is one of the pluses that we can hang our hats on, hopefully, to drive and generate more people to stay or keep or invite them to the sector.
Absolutely. And I think what we've seen from today is that ultimately embracing technology, and there's a comment there from Andrew Clayton, embrace the tech and train the staff, which I think is a good saying. It really ultimately gives a competitive advantage to the homes in what is a difficult market at the moment. But no, it's been great talking to you both. We'd love to carry on, but I think we better wrap up. So thanks everyone for joining us today. It has been fascinating to learn about the huge potential that there is for technology to improve our residents' lives, as well as any of the day-to-day functions within a care home. Thanks again to Isaac and Dudley for joining us today and sharing your expertise. We will be circulating a recording of this session shortly, along with the slides and contact details for the presenters. And we look forward to seeing you for the penultimate episode in our webinar series next month. Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you, Dudley. Thank you, Rantel and team.
Thank you.